I was asked to sponsor this bill, and the woman who asked me to do it, I said, why? Why do you want me to do it? And she said, well, because we think you would be a good lead sponsor. And I said, well, you know, I had never really thought about, I didn't come to the Senate with an agenda of sponsoring this particular bill. I have had some other pieces of legislation that I thought would be helpful to Maine. But I said, let me read it over and I'll decide. And she said, fine. And so I looked at it that night, and the very next day I said, yes, I'd be willing to be on this bill as a sponsor. And then she said, well, would you be the lead sponsor? And again, I said, why would you want me to be? And she said, well, we think that you would be the best one here to do it. And I said, oh, that translates out, you've asked 185 others, and I'm the only one left. And she said, no. She said, no. And so I said, yes, then I will be the lead sponsor. The lead sponsor is a little more visible. There were 64 sponsors on the bill. And Representative Schatz, who is here, sorry, Jim, I didn't introduce you sooner. Representative Schatz, I believe, is on the bill. And so we went forward from there. And before we announced the bill in a press conference, I said, I want to have a chance to speak with the leadership in the Senate and in the House. And I also want a chance to speak with the governor. And so I went to Madam President and Madam Speaker, and I said, I have a bill, because now I'm getting pretty parochial about this bill. I have a bill dealing with ending discrimination in marriage. And I want to talk to you about it because I know that we have a tremendous job before us this year with the budget as bad as it is and with all of the other things that we deal with. And I just want to know if you think this is going to be too distracting. And both of them said, it will take some energy and it will take some time, but it won't be too distracting. And so we encourage you to move forward with it. I said, thank you very much. And then I went, the day before we had the press conference announcing the bill, I went to the governor and I said the same thing. And I said, Mr. Governor, I want to be sure that you know that there is a bill coming forward on this. I know that we have a lot of work to do in the legislature, and I just want to let you know what we're doing. And he said, well, I actually appreciate that. You know, I have never supported this in the past. And I said, I realize that you haven't. And he said, so what do you want me to do now? I said, I really don't want you to do anything. And I mean that, literally. I don't want you, especially to, when I announce this tomorrow, that this bill is out, I'd rather that there wouldn't be a proclamation come out of your office saying there's no sense to do this because it'll be dead on arrival. Just let the bill play itself out. Let the conversation go forth. And he did that. I give him great credit for that. He did that. And in the end, when we had the votes on the bill, the key vote was in the Senate, not in the House. The House majority was such that that went forward very easily. But in the Senate, there was an awful lot of anguish and thought and courage, quite frankly. And we did pass it. And then Madam President put us into recess in the middle of our work, and she came into the back row carrying the bill, and she said, come with me. And so she had me and Senator Larry Bliss, who is the chair of the Judiciary Committee, the committee that heard it. And she took us down. We all went down carrying this bill to the governor's office. And we walked in unannounced, and the secretary was there, and she said, can I help you? And Madam President said, we're here to see the governor. Can I tell him what it's about? And Madam President said, we have a bill that we want to present to him. There were some other people in the office at the time, some of his aides, and they said, well, we'll take that, because no, she said, no, you won't. No, we're going to give it directly to the governor. And they said, well, our protocol is that we review the bill and make sure that legally it's everything that's supposed to be. And she said, you'll have time to do that in due time, but we're going to give it to the governor. Where is he? And the receptionist said, well, he's in a meeting. Would you get him out? And so everybody's kind of looking at one another, and eventually the governor walks out, kind of blinking his eyes, what's going on? And Madam President said, Governor Baldacci, we have a bill that the legislature has just enacted, and we want to present it to you. And so she gave me the bill, and she said, Senator Damon actually wants to give you this bill. So I was handing the governor the bill, and I said, it's a pretty monumental task that you have before you. It's one that we've dealt with, and I wish you well, and I hope that you give it its due consideration. And he actually did. And that day, that very day, we went back up to our work, and he signed the bill. Now, he didn't do it in a grand public setting, but I don't think that he should have done it that way. He did it, and the bill became law. And we were the first state, Maine was the first state in the country, to have a bill like this that ended discrimination in civil marriage, passed by its legislature, and signed into law by its governor.